Hey guys, welcome back. Okay, so it may not necessarily seem like it, but we have gotten an incredible amount of stuff done because a lot of what's left now is just like a sandbox of taking components we've already created and making a level with it. So we've created our collectibles, we've created a bunch of platforms. Keep in mind too, you can go online and download like different artwork for these platforms. So maybe a falling platform, you just replace the sprite renderer with something else. Like from a video game, maybe you like maybe you want to replace the character with Mario or something. So you can pretty much do whatever you want. A lot of it comes down to level design right now. So we're going to need to create a level, and then we're also going to need to be able to finish the level and move on to the next one. So we're going to be doing a little bit of level design. You don't have to follow what I'm doing. This isn't technically even programming, but it is definitely utilizing the programming that we've done so far. So let's get into it. So first of all, we've done things pretty carefully here. So, if we actually drag our player back to the beginning of the level, we've tried to introduce most of the concepts in this level pretty early on. So you see we have this gem, they're going to want to grab it. So they're going to immediately jump. And worst comes to worst, if they lose here, they just respawn and then everything resets. So no harm done, and now they've learned what a disappearing platform is. Now if they're not paying attention and they keep walking forward, they're going to realize that they ran into a spike. And it's going to immediately show them, of course, you can't touch a spike. The moving platforms will teach them how the mechanics there work. Just as if you jump on this eagle, you will learn that you cannot jump on enemies. So very early on in the level, we have taught the player most of the components that we've created. And I did that on purpose because you don't want a player to get to the end of the level and get a cheap defeat. You want them to lose because they messed up, not because you had bad game design. So the surprise though is going to be the disappearing platforms. We want it to appear quick enough where the player is able to know that it's coming up, but we can also utilize them in a way that makes it really hard. So we're going to click the platform here. And now we want its y-axis to be the same as this y-axis. That way it's on the ground. So we're going to put it right over here. And then if we take our player, you'll see we have this huge area. So if we go over here, we can imagine running into this. By the time you reach the area, either the block will have appeared or disappeared, giving hopefully the player enough time to react. So now we're going to copy our disappearing platform. We're going to move it way over here. And then we're going to uncheck enabled. And then we're going to copy it again, make it move all the way over here, and then check enabled. And now if we go to our script and we removed enabled equals true, then it will be enabled or disabled depending on how they're checked in the inspector when we load the game. So as you can see, it loads them independently. So now if we time our jumps, we'll be able to do this cool way of showing them how the game works. We want to be careful with these because it can almost appear wonky if they're not quite aware that it's going to happen. So rather than having them all appear like this, I'm going to delete these two. And I'm just going to introduce the player to the first disappearing platform right over here. And then I'm going to follow up with more of these platforms over here. I'm going to put a few spikes over here because I feel like we don't have enough spikes. And then I'm going to put an eagle above the spikes so that they have the time jumping between the spikes. Let's see if that works out. Oh, so we have to set the eagles Y position in the move along, or the X position, sorry, so that it doesn't move its X position back to the last eagle spot. Okay, so now we have to time our jump a little bit. We could make it move down more if we wanted to, but it's fine for now. So we time our jump a little bit, and in the midst of it, we see this platform disappears, reappears, and then we jump again. Okay. So now we're going to make another platform that has all 10 of them. I'm gonna just drag it over here. And then we're going to grab some frogs. I'm gonna put 3 of them here. Now, of course, I'm not quite doing this symmetrically, which you would want to do for a good level. However, that would take extra time. And you guys can do it yourselves. So now if we reload our game, we've got these frogs. We got to be careful. One of them just jumped off the edge. So what we're going to do to prevent that, we're actually going to delete this platform altogether. Bring these frogs platform over to here. Cool. And then we want to give them room to jump off the edge, but we also have to make sure that we don't put the frog right on this edge, because if we're jumping from the disappearing platform, it would be very cheap if we got hit by a frog that was on the edge. So let's see there if the frog will still be able to jump off the edge or not. Nope, that seems good. Okay, so now another thing we can do is maybe add some more gems. I just noticed I wasn't able to go underneath the frog. I don't know if you want to be able to go underneath the frog. Oh, maybe you can, just barely. You have to do it perfectly though. In order to change that, you could just give the frog a little bit more jump velocity, but this is going to be fine. So see how we have everything organized? So like to create a new enemy is just like a quick copy and paste. It makes everything so much easier, and it's the same with these gems. Oh, I don't know where that gem went. There it is. So we're going to copy and paste it. And the reason it has this little audio symbol is just because that means it has a sound. So we can also add another gem here. Maybe make it a little bit lower. So as you can see, the level is progressively getting a little bit more challenging. Cool, so we were able to run under there. Works for me. So now we're really going to take advantage of those disappearing platforms. So we're going to copy and paste it. Bring it over to here. And then we are going to change this time the toggle to be 1. Then we'll copy and paste it again. And now we can try and find a way to make it easier to do this mathematically. So what if we changed it to be 40? That's not big enough. So what about like 47? That's too much. 44, 43. 43 seems about right. So the last one was 37. So now we know that if we wanted to make it symmetrical, we would just increase it by 6. So now if I change this to 49, they're basically the exact same distance apart. So we're going to make 5. We're going to make this one 56. 61 or 66 or no. What was the last one? Sorry. 56. So we're going to make this one 62. Okay, so we are going to set it so that number 2 and number 4 are enabled differently, so they have to jump between them. Then let's give that a go. I'm actually going to take our player and move them over to here. So 6 is clearly too far. And also our bounds doesn't stretch that far anymore. So we didn't respond. So we're gonna have to stretch our bounds just really far. That's fine. All right, so 6 is a little bit too much. What if we bring it down to 4 instead? So subtract 2 off of it. Apparently I'm bad at video games. Still bad at video games. Okay, so I like that. So we're going to subtract 2 off of each one of these. So we'll make that 47. 54. Oh wait, how much did we? 37 to 41. So it'll be 41 to 45. And then 49. And then 53. Okay, so that's not too bad. We're going to create another long platform. And then this time, we're going to give it another 3 frogs. But we're actually going to try and make them quite a bit closer together than the last time. And then we're going to grab an eagle. Bring it over to here. And then remember that we need to take its X value and add it into our move along path. Then we can copy and paste our eagle. Drag it over to this side. I'm going to copy its X in there. And then I'm going to go and grab our gems. Copy. And I'm going to put it there. Okay, so we've got the gems inside of the eagles, so we'll have to time that appropriately now. Let's try and make it across here. Oh, I'm definitely going to lose, yep. So I guess we have to jump a little early. No! I'm going to drag our player over because I'm sure you guys don't want to watch me do that 1,000 times. Okay, so it feels like our frog's box colliders and everything's box colliders are just a little bit too close. It's quite easy to lose. So what you can do is make them smaller. We're not going to worry about that right now. Okay, so maybe I made this section a little bit too hard, but that's fine. You can make it as hard as you want. So after this, we're going to grab our falling platforms. And we're going to set it to the same Y value as these platforms right here so that it matches. Oh, and it already seems to be. It just didn't look like it because of the box collider. We're going to copy our background so that we get an extra one. Then we can do that again. Okay, so now we've got our falling platforms. We'll create like 3 of them. And then maybe at the end of this have our goal. I'm going to try and get there. I'm going to try so hard. Nope. I made this frog's box collider too big. And it is what it is. I have to deal with it now. Okay, so before we reach our goal, I am going to teach everybody a valuable lesson. Because this has happened to me before. And it's definitely not fun. And you get to experience it now. So these frogs have a box collider that's a little bit too big. So we want to change the box collider. But the problem is, if we do that, then that means we have to change every single one of these frogs, which would be awful. So instead, what we're going to do is create something called a prefab. We're going to go back to our assets folder, right click and click create folder. And we're going to call this prefabs. Now what we can do is drag our initial frog into our prefabs folder. We can drag our initial eagle into this prefabs folder. And then we can delete the rest of all of our hard-earned work. So now what we can do, now that we have our frog and our eagle, is we can copy it and paste it. Move this eagle over. And now if I decide to change its box collider, and make it a little bit smaller. Whoops. Box collider. That way when it's flying, it doesn't hit us with its wings. So now we've changed our box collider, and we don't want to go back and change the box collider on our other eagle because that would be a pain. So what we can do is right click this box collider. You'll see modified component and click apply to prefab eagle. Now if we go over to this eagle and we click it, you'll see that its box collider has been altered because we changed our prefab, which changed everything. However, something like our move along path, they're going to be different. So we don't want to change this according to our prefab. We're going to change the X back to what it should be, but we don't want to apply to our prefab because this is going to be different for everyone. But basically what prefabs is going to do is allow you to change one object and it changes it for everything, which is extremely important when you have like 18 frogs like we just had now. So I know this was probably extremely irritating to have to go through, but I feel like it's a really important lesson to learn, because if you don't make prefabs for all of these objects that you're making duplicates of, then you have to edit each individual one, which is not good. So we're going to take our box collider of our frog, and we're going to make it a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to add the frogs and the eagles back to where they were, and I'll be right back. Okay, so we've got our level created. We converted everything back into prefabs. I haven't converted the ground. However, you will want to do that, and I'm sorry. So you'll want like a disappearing platform to be its own prefab. You'll want a moving platform to be its own prefab. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm not going to be doing them all though. And then let's give our level a good play and see if there's anything about it that just has any glaring problems as we're going through. So right now all feels well. It feels like the physics and everything is really nice. It might look a little bit laggy, and that's just because it's in the inspector. So I don't like how low the frogs are jumping. I brought that up before. I'm going to go to frog controller and set its jump force to be 5. And then I'm going to apply to prefab so that all the frogs jump like that now. So let's see how high they jump now. I would just like to be able to run underneath them, just like that. So everything seems to be playing really well so far. I definitely like that we changed up the frogs jumping a little bit. Let's see if I can get this without messing up. This next part was too hard before, so I fixed it a little bit. And the platforms are working. As you can see, we can jump back and forth. Oh, and the platforms actually move. So what's interesting is, in order to solve that problem, it's really simple. You'll just want to grab the rigid body and click freeze position X. Of course, you're going to have to go back and make them their prefabs. Otherwise, you'll have to do every individual one. So do yourself a favor and make all of these different platforms their own prefab. Let's try it out now. Cool. And if we want to be a little bit clever, we can take a gem and put it right about here. So what we can do is take our gems layer and put it behind the ground. So now our gem's hidden, but you see it pop out a little bit underneath. Or we can even move it down just a little bit more so that's harder to get and easier to see. So if we move it down, you can clearly see it, but you have to let it fall a little bit before you can grab it, and then jump right before you fall to the bottom.